My name is William Sawyer, and I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm also an equestrian and a novice show jumper. I've been jumping for about a year, and before that, I hadn't really ridden. Like, the last horse I rode was in 2015, and the last time I competed competitively was as a barrel racer in 2010. I used to be a 1D barrel racer. I had a horse that I could take out and compete with the top professional barrel racers in the country, and I did pretty well, right? So I could ride, but I can't show jump. And from 2010 to I'd gotten to about 274 pounds. I wasn't that big the whole time. But needless to say, I stopped riding horses. I have a new lease on life. I don't have to look at the way I lived for a long time as the way I'm gonna live forever. And I don't, right? Like, so I've become a vegan, and I've had some medical interventions with the GLP-1, and I declared a year ago that I want to compete in the Masters, which is the Mixed States Hunter Jumper Association's over 50 class, right? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna document myself and my horse Herbie and our process going to the Masters. So I've been in lessons steadily for a year, 3 times a week, unless I'm on vacation. January McGee over at Spitfire Farm in Coconut Creek. I live about 22 minutes south in Oakland Park in the Fort Lauderdale suburbs. We are in about 30 minutes at Coconut Creek from Wellington, which is the center of the universe for show jumping this time of year. Like, everybody in the world, the Olympians, some of the top riders in the world are here right now competing. It's in the shadow of like really great people that I'm like this complete novice that doesn't really know what he's doing. And I'm in training, and I've got a great trainer. I bought Herbie in March of last year. He was imported by Claire Bangert from CB Equestrian, and my trainer hooked up with one of her friends, and they brought me out to see like 8 horses, and Herbie was the first horse of the day that I rode on the first time out, and I just liked him. Like, he and I felt like I could get on him and figure out what his buttons were, like, from the get-go. And then we saw like 7 other horses on the second day. So we saw 4 horses that day and 4 horses the next on the second trip next week. And I remember, like, we saw Herbie first on the second trip, and I just knew, like, I don't even know why I'm getting on these other horses, right? Like, I sat in the car and I started sobbing, and I jump out of the car and I run over to my trainer's car, and she's in there with Carrie and Katie, and I'm like, it's Herbie, it's Herbie, I just know it's Herbie. Then we get on these other horses, and these horses and I weren't getting along anyway, so it was definitely gonna be Herbie. And so Bill and I put together the financial package. Like, that was a trauma, like, because we're not made of money. This whole thing is costing like every dime we have, right? Like, for me to be 60 years old chasing some dream, right? Like, and so we bought Herbie, and man, we were doing okay, but I just was having a hard time finding my balance. And it comes to find out, like, you can't just get on a show jumping horse and then like find your seat and your balance, especially if you haven't ridden in 14 years. And you're like, my hips were locked. I have a groin strain on one side. I have a hip injury on the other side. Like, and this leg, like, I literally had been falling down. Like, if I was going to sit on the toilet, way too much information. Like, if I'm going to sit on the toilet and this weight was taken, I just have to like give it and like plop all the way down, because it wasn't gonna hold. So for 14 years, I ignored this injury. Not now. I've engaged a physical therapist in August, because like, if you can't keep yourself erect, your posture good, and engage your back end, not your horse. If you can't engage your back end, you can't engage your horse's back end. And that's a thing, right? Like, so here we are, like, now it's January. I've been working with a physical therapist weekly at first, now every other week since August, and I'm strong and my hips are flexible. And so I can ride a lot better. And Herbie and I, like at the last show at Horseman's in at Plantation Acres, I have to tell you, like, we came in second place, but the first run of the day, I watched this 12-year-old go out in front of me, and she knocked that thing. She knocked a pole. I like, yes, because like she's a phenom. Listen, I might joke that I'd be taking ribbons from 12-year-olds and 9-year-olds, but these kids could ride. They all outride me. Like up until like Horseman's and Plantation, like every show I went at, I was the oldest person in my class. Like, but you know, they don't let you go up until you can actually jump. They don't let you go up. They just keep you down, right? So I started at little cross rails, 18 inches. Then I was at 2 feet. Now I'm at 0.7, which I think is like 2.3 to 2.6, like somewhere. I've jumped 3 feet at home. I jumped over a meter like last week. I'll stick that picture like up to the right or the left here in this little story. So then I'm getting somewhere as a jumper, right? Like 0.7, I got a second place and an 8th place at the last show. This is my 6th show that we came into this weekend. And I was feeling pretty good because I'm starting to feel like I'm connected to Herbie in 5 different places, right? Like my seat, my heels, my inner calves, my hands, everything is just kind of moving, right? Like, and when I get forward with Herbie, he starts to slow down a little bit because it's like when I get forward, my elbow moves forward, my hand moves forward, the connection between my hand and Herbie, that all moves forward. None of that works very well, right? Like, so, like, and then he kind of stalls on me and I have to, But like, if I just kiss and go like this, if I give more rein, he's like, what are you kicking me, giving me more rein for, dude, back? So like, I need to like sit back a little more, right? And hold the tension and send him forward, but not hold like release with him as I'm sending him. Like, let him know this is where I want you to go. And that all became a lot clearer at the last horse show, right? Like that I could do that. And this show, I had this feeling that things were going to be better, right? Like, because like, I think I only knocked 1 rail the entire show this last week. This show, I didn't knock any rails, right? Like, I don't even think I knocked a rail down when we went over to Nona's on Friday and we did the schooling. So it started so how this week really started was Jan was really organized in getting me to do my transitions on the serpentine in the week coming up to it. She was really organized and making sure that I could do rollbacks and that I have that I'm utilizing my outside rein. And you know, when I'm using my outside rein and when my hands are moving more like this and not with my whole arm like pulling out like that, right? Like when I go like this to turn, Herbie just, it's like he and I we just lift and move all over together. It's like he comes up into me like we're one, and it's such a powerful experience. So I knew going into this weekend that it was going to be better, right? Like, I just didn't know it was going to be like blue ribbon better on every class that I went into. And I know the class sizes aren't big, and they're going to get big. And I know I'm competing against, 9-year-old and 12-year-olds like this. I met this really nice dad and this really nice daughter. She's 9 on this cute little 14-year-old pony. And just like at the last show, she went in before me. She hit a rail. I was like, yes. Like, these kids I'm telling you, they're phenoms. They're on like these horses that are like, yeah. And they can ride and they have good posture. And their hips move like, and their hands are on the right spot, and it looks easy for them. And I'm like, I got a physical therapist and a workout routine, and I'm still listening to my trainer barking in the background. Lift up, sit up, sit up, sit up. So like, eventually, I'm gonna have the body strength just to hold all that together. So when I went into the arena on the first round, it was a power and speed round. Like, and I'm just learning what all this means now, right? Like, so like a power and speed round is, a power and speed round is 2 races. And I think it was like 12 jumps, right? Like the first 7, I think, are your power round. You do not want to knock a rail in the power round, right? And then the next 5 are the speed round. And that's what counts. And the speed round only counts if you don't knock a rail in the first 7. So Jan's trying to explain all this to me, and I'm just like, okay, so when do I step on the gas pedal, Jan? Okay. So Jan tells me we got the course. And let me tell you, memorizing courses, like, I know Jan was freaked out because, like, I was having a minute now, right? Like, my mind was lost in the mechanics for the first 4 or 5 shows. She saw the inside of my mind, like, at the last show, right? Like, she said, oh, Will can memorize them fast. And now I just have to, like, walk through it. I don't even really want to look at the picture anymore. Like, I'll put the picture up so that you can see it. I don't want to look at the picture. I want to hear them tell me the course. Or, like, I want to look at the picture and then walk through the course and see it. I want to know when I'm going to be stepping out, looking left. I want to be knowing stepping out, looking right. Right? Like, I want to incorporate all that into it. But first, I want to know where I'm going. And I want to know where I'm going from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. And I want to be able to see it. And by my 3rd time through, I want to know it. Like, I want to walk through it once in my mind, walk through it twice in my mind, and the 3rd time, I just want to say it. And I want it to be there. Like, be there and be stuck. Right? Like, and in fact, like, at the end of the power and speed round, so I cleared the power round, right? Like, I cleared that power round and came over to the 5th jump to the little yellow and green trees, and I went over it. And there were some bobbles, right? Like, on places where I broke that connection, where, like, I got forward, and when I get forward, my hands get forward, there's no connection to the mouth, and then Herbie's like, where am I supposed to go? But, like, he's faithful to me, right? Like, and he moves forward. I'm like, damn, that's good. And I'm starting to feel like when I was a barrel racer, like, walk in there and I know exactly how to get my horse to pick up his lead pick up his correct lead from a walk to canter every time. Correct lead. If he picks up the wrong lead, I just back him up, pick it up again. If he's on the wrong lead, I just ask him for it, even if I'm in a jump. My goal, though, is to ask him for the correct lead over every jump, every time. That's my goal. So after we came through the the power and speed round, and we cleared, and I knocked that little award right out of that little kid's hand. I knew walking over to the arena, I heard them, like, as I was walking, they said, Will, you're leading this thing. And I was like, just a few more riders. We'll see if I win it. And then we did the speed round. So looking at the video, the timestamp, I came out at 11:15 and I went in at 11:28. That's how long I had to memorize second course. And I did it. The only bobble I had, and the thing is like, once you start figuring this out, it's like, oh, the speed round was like aspects of the other courses that I had already done. Like, I'd already jumped this bending line and through they were just putting the combinations together a bit different. Right? It's starting to make sense, right? Like, with barrel racing, it's 1 right, 2 lefts, 1 left, 2 rights, right? Like, and this is every time you go out there, you're going to have to memorize like between 8 and 12 different combinations. And you might have to do 2 or 3 different combinations in a day. So, yeah, Apparently, I'm the .70 meter champion over at Nona Garrison's The Ridge. So I'll be back at the next B-rated show because I'm still doing schooling shows. But my goal is to take Herbie and I and get us so that we're riding at a competitive adult amateur level over a meter. I'd like to be serious at the meter height for 2026. And I'd like to be serious at a meter 10 for 2027. That's my goal. I want to compete in the Masters in 2027. 2025, you're going to see me at a lot of schooling shows. And then I'm going to start like graduating to some A-rated shows when my trainer thinks I'm ready and not a minute before. And I have to tell you, January McGee, she's got me, man. She's getting me to places I've never been as a rider. And she saw that I could do this. Like, I think a lot of people didn't always see it, right? Like, we could say shit. But if you've known me for very long, I say a lot of shit and I get a lot of shit done. Like, I remember the first time I said, I'm going to go on a Mormon mission. I did that. Came off the Mormon mission. I said, I'm going to go university. Didn't do that, but I did get a great job with a pharmaceuticals company. Came off that job and was like, now I'm going to school. Because I was like 28 years old and I was a high school dropout. Not any longer. I don't drop out anymore. I have a GED, an associate's, 2 bachelors, and a master's, right? Like, I do hard things, right? Like, and then my husband and I bought a bed and breakfast, and we made that a success. And then I bought a bunch of barrel racing horses, and we bought a barrel racing business, and I dove into that. And then I dove into like becoming a clinical psychotherapist, and I got that out of the way. And now in my 60s, I faced some of my biggest demons, which were my lack of activity and my mouth, which was a complete funnel for anything that was just going to make my life miserable if I wanted to go on. And I threw all that stuff aside. And after I lost that weight, I went to one of my girlfriend's house up in Ocala, the girl who bought my barrel racing business. And she stuck me on one of her little kids' horses. And I could still do this. I can still ride. And I thought I was going to buy a barrel racing horse. But I think I wanted something different. Like, I had a show jumping horse with Carrie Orcutt over in El Dorado Hills, California. And I got scared. I went back to barrel racing. I'm not afraid anymore. In fact, I'm on fire. So if you want to watch Herbie and I, follow along. Now, I wonder what... This is my first shot at this, so I don't have a logo, I don't have credits, I don't have anything. So thank you. Have a great day.